Hello plant friends, my name is Victoria and you're watching Plantastics. This is Velveeta, she's my little chihuahua. She is 10 years old, so she's got a little bit of gray in her face. She's ready to go take a nap, but if you hear something pittering around in the background, it is this precious little dog of mine. So I'm going to put her down so she can go back to sleep and we're going to be doing an unboxing together. I'm actually just going to cut it open this way. So I did order one plant, and based off of the reviews, I saw that they send an additional plant kind of like as a surprise. So I see two plants here. I don't know what, I'm guessing this smaller one is. I don't really know what this is. Maybe it's a Ploumani. I'm not really versed in philodendrons really. So this was a cool surprise. But so far, the one plant that I received as a gift is in excellent condition. This is the Anthurium Besseae. This is the one that I did order. And she is gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. So these are really nice and established leaves. There are two. This one is going to be the newest leaf forming here. It appears as though we have nice roots. There are some aerial roots forming. So yeah, so this is the one that I ordered, and then this is the other one. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to put these in isolation for a little while. I have a large container, a glass one, that I'm probably going to put one of these two in, and then after 2 weeks they will be incorporated into my collection. My only criticism is this. It just needs, someone just needs to look over it and edit it for you if you are little plants and you're watching. The packaging is excellent. The plants arrived in excellent condition and they look like they have been cared for very well. I do not see any pests or pest damage, which is nice. I'm just double looking over. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful plants. There are the backs. Yeah, I'm impressed. I have another order coming from them and I'll be sharing that with you guys. Okay, so we are now outside and I just want to introduce you to this rubric that I made. And I'm wanting to do kind of like a new series where I evaluate every seller that I order from and I give them a score. So you can see it on the screen now. So 5 points is the highest that you can get, and there are 5 different categories. You have visual appearance, growth, leaf health, soil condition, and pest and disease presence. And in each of those categories, you can get anywhere between 5 and 1 point. So I'm just showing you the root system of this regale. And you can see that there are no mushy roots. The roots are really white and thick and not super like mushy. You can also see where the leaves are coming from. This looks to have been a chunk that was started, and you can see that it is very firm and it's not rotten. So I'm going to be putting these in pots so I can put them on my living wall after they're quarantined for 2 weeks. So I'm just going to be putting in some soil mixture and some leca kind of to keep the roots from potentially being in contact with the water that kind of sits on the plastic at the bottom. And I kind of just am using a soil mix that I make for my violets. My violets are actually epiphytic. They don't really like super soggy or dense soil, so Anthuriums really like that, and I use it kind of just for everything. So this one is going to be getting that. And you might think that the pot's a little small, but that's just fine. You can kind of have a pot in a plant that where the plant is kind of too small for the pot, if that makes sense, but it's really only a problem if you have a super small plant in an incredibly large pot, because then you have root rot. A plant needing to be watered more frequently isn't necessarily a problem, and that way you get to kind of avoid the chance of there being soggy roots or root rot, and that's really nice whenever you have a plant like this that is acclimating. So that's what I'm doing, and there is some excessive soil kind of over top of the planter, but it's not a huge deal because I like to water them, and the water kind of brings the soil down and it's allowed to settle. So I still don't really know what this is. If you know what plant this is, please let me know, because I really don't keep up with a lot of the philodendrons. I have the ones that I have and I know their names, and that's really it. So this one is really nice, and I pulled the 2 dead leaves off of it. And yeah, so this soil is not something that I would recommend someone keep the plant in, because it is so incredibly dense. And if you're not paying attention, you might have root rot. So the soil that I'm using has perlite, it has bark. I also added in some leca. It also has some charcoal and some fungi that's beneficial. So I kind of just throw all kinds of things in there. And then sometimes I'll ask people if they're going by the hardware store to get me stuff, and sometimes they'll bring me the wrong thing, and I'll just throw that in there too. Like I have the peat moss that isn't in a brick. Someone brought me a bag of it, and I just did a soil mix recently with that instead of the long strands of sphagnum moss. So it's not a huge deal. There's no secret to success. If you have a plant that really doesn't like to sit in water, just make sure you have chunkier pieces. That way the water runs through. Now, this Anthurium did not come from Leal Exotics. This one came from a bid that I won on eBay. And this is a windy Anthurium. So it kind of looks like a vitrifolium, but it's not. And I believe whenever it has inflows, which are the flowers that Anthuriums produce, they will be kind of like in a spiral. So that'll be kind of cool. I haven't really had any of my Anthuriums other than my Rad X Lux and my chocolate Anthurium bloom. So I anticipate that as some of these Anthuriums that I've grown from seed get a little bit larger, that they'll be blooming, and I'm just so excited for whenever that happens. So this looks like they just put it into this pot because the roots and the soil isn't settled. So now I have repotted everyone, and I'm just showing you the mix that I use to spray the soil down, and it is SuperThrive and tap water. So SuperThrive is really cool. It's not actually a fertilizer, so it doesn't burn the roots. If you didn't know, roots that have been kind of like shaken around and whatnot, they have a tendency to burn when they're exposed to fertilizer. So that's not what this is. I think this is kind of like a soothing medicine. It's been around forever. You can use it whenever you're waking up shrubs or roses from dormancy. It has all kinds of uses, and a little bit goes a really, really long way. So I have this pump sprayer, and I'm just spraying and getting that soil to settle. And I have this egg crate thing, and this is actually what they use on top of fluorescent lights. If you look up, that's what this is, and I just cut it and use it for this purpose, kind of just as a way to elevate the pots for the water to drain through. And I have my soil bucket underneath it, so that way it's moist and not super dry and dusty for the next repot that I do. Now this is a new bag, and I am excited for it because you can fit a lot of plants in here when you're quarantining, and I'm gonna have it linked down below. So you can put plants in here, you can put stuff in there if you're planning on moving. You can kind of just put anything in there. If you have real wool or real cashmere sweaters, you can put those in there so that way the little bugs don't eat them. So you could purchase a box of these and use them for more than just plants. So I have this one. It has a really nice handle, and I'm going to put them right here, and I've left myself a little note for when to open it. We're now going to be looking at this rubric. So this is a rubric that I kind of just made up, and I am going to just kind of do this every time I do an unboxing at the end of the video. We're going to specifically look at the Regal Anthurium and not the bonus plant, simply because that was the plant that I purchased, and the other one is just extra, it's fun, it's a surprise. So just for the purpose of evaluating the plants that are going to be in unboxing videos, it's going to be the purchase plant, not the additional surprise plant if there is one. So in terms of visual appearance, the Besseae Anthurium leaves were incredibly vibrant and rich. They did not show any signs of damage, browning, wilting, and the plant was able to stand upright and strong. So for the visual appearance category, it's going to get the full 5 points. So the next category is growth. So on a 5, the plant is actively growing with new leaves or flowers developing regularly. And then growth is robust and healthy. So you could see at the base of the plant that there were roots, aerial roots forming. And you could also see that there was a new leaf forming on the most recent leaf. And you could feel just in the texture and probably in the appearance as well that newest leaf was hardening off. So that plant is actively growing by having just put out a new leaf, as well as putting out new aerial roots. So leaf health, the leaves are free of spots, holes, and pests. Surface is glossy or appropriately matte, reflecting healthy leaf texture. I would say that this Besseae gets a 5. There are no holes. I mean, honestly, it's perfect. Considering the fact that it was shipped, it didn't have any physical damage. So in terms of soil condition, soil is well aerated, appropriately moist, and free of mold or unpleasant smells. Soil composition is ideal for the plant type. Now, a lot of these sellers are using cocoa coir as a form of media because it's better for the environment, and it's also cheaper than some of the other blends. And so it's not really great for long-term use. So I would say that for the purpose of shipping and growing in a greenhouse, as the plant arrived to me, the soil condition is going to get a 4.5 because as a buyer, you're not going to want to keep it in that soil. You're going to move it to something chunkier because in a greenhouse, there's vents and all kinds of fans, and they need to ensure moisture as well as the moisture being maintained as it's being shipped. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. And there was no unpleasant smell, and the soil composition is ideal for the plant of that type. But if you were to round up, they just get a 5. Pest and disease presence. There are no pests or diseases present in these plants. Now, they are isolated and will be for the next 2 weeks. And So far it's been a week since I filmed the unboxing, so we're just 1 week away from taking them out of quarantine, and I haven't seen any spider mites or thrips or anything like that. So there are no pests present. So out of 25 points, they get a 24.5. And that's really, really good. Honestly, both of these Anthuriums were really nicely priced. And though it says that they are from Ecuador, they were shipped from a facility in Florida. So they did not actually have the distance and the length of time that I was expecting for them to, have before they arrived here. So there really wasn't a ton of shock in terms of shipment. So I feel like you get the best of both worlds. You get very nicely priced plants that are arriving within a week or two, and they're actually shipped incredibly well. So I personally would recommend this seller. They did a really great job at growing these plants, shipping them, and keeping them to where they're just like beautiful specimens. So I purchased this with my own money. This was not in collaboration with them. They didn't offer me a discount code or anything like that. This is just my honest opinion as a plant collector. So that concludes my unboxing and evaluation of Leal Exotics. If you're interested in following and seeing more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe and turn on the bell notification. And comment your favorite. Would you purchase from them? Do you know of any other sellers that you recommend that are somewhat similar in that they may be growing overseas, but they're being shipped from a place in the US? I just typically associate cheaper plants with being overseas, and this one was based in the US. So that was kind of interesting to know. But anyways, I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye.